Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back to Fueling Your Legacy. We have a phenomenal guest on this week. Her name is Natalie Bushnell. And I actually first saw Natalie. She started popping up on my radar on Facebook. I started watching some of her videos, thinking this is very interesting, things that I believe, but just a little bit past the edge of what I've currently heard or been challenged my belief system with. So it's very intriguing. And then I actually got to meet her in person just it's like 2 weeks ago. Wow, maybe more, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually. And so grateful for that. But just so you have a good little brief background of who she is, then I'm going to let her introduce herself. But she was actually, these are things all I just found out within the last few weeks, so it's still new to me too. But she was raised polygamist, married off at 18. In that situation, she wasn't super happy. Actually attempted suicide a few times and was saved by her guardian angel and woke up with these spiritual gifts. Had a daughter who was terminally ill that kind of sparked her desire to start learning about spiritual healing for herself and for others. Became a midwife and now runs a business called Soulisious, and that gives people the tools to heal their mind and body so they can really gain a spiritual and physical six-pack. So that's kind of a broad range of what she does, but today we're going to be a lot more targeted down into kind of the financial, emotional blueprint that we've been given. So thank you, Natalie, for being here, and we're excited to have you on. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and share a little bit more of your journey.
Hey, everyone. My name is Natalie, like he said. I have so many stories, and we can go on for hours, but really, I want to focus on what's vital here, and that is your spiritual and financial blueprint from even infancy. And I learned a lot about this in the past. Like he said, I did end up committing suicide and learning to heal myself and heal anxiety, depression, fibromyalgia, all the things I was suffering from completely natural, which was a beautiful, beautiful part of my journey. And learning to have spiritual gifts and speak to the dead and do healings and all that's magical. But one of the most powerful things that happened to me was I ended up with this book called You Can Heal Your Life that's another one. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Super powerful book. Totally get that. But this one was called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. Have you ever heard it by Carol Truman?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
So it's a phenomenal book. I actually read it at the very last week that my daughter was alive, and it went over every essential thing that I needed to learn. It was like the universe gave me that book just to show me why I had created what I created. And the moment I got done with that book, she literally passed the next day, but she was able to pass in peace because of that. And that story, again, is super beautiful. I was able to hear her pass and talk to me as she died, and magical story, but that's not what we're talking about today. This one that book came to me, and I was at that time in a very abusive marriage. And Carol Truman states that if you can go back to your birth, when you were born, and you can forgive everybody that was in the hospital or the operation room, your mother, your father, yourself, and like the doctors, you can actually shift and change your entire life. You can completely transform your reality. And most people will read stuff like this, but they don't actually apply it. And so I'm actually going to give your listeners today the greatest exercise for free. And if they're willing to do this, they will completely transform their life. So she says, if you can forgive them 7 times 70, which is what Christ tells people to do, right? Most people never do the math. They think that means forever. What is 7 times 70?
I don't know, 140.
140. You are the mathematician here, the financial man.
Well, I don't know. I think it'd be
490.
490. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, why is it?
So 490 is a very powerful number, and it has a lot of spiritual significance. And so I actually did my forgiveness work for my mother, my father, myself, and my ex-husband. And I would basically do it this way. I, Natalie, forgive my mother for whatever, and I release her to her high and best good. And I would write it again and again and again until I would stop being angry or cry over the situation. Now, when I first started this exercise, I thought it was pretty stupid. I didn't feel any emotion at first, but as I got into it, I just started to bawl. And I remembered suddenly being 2 years old, stuffed in the corner, and having my mom depressed all day and going to sleep and making me play by myself. She wasn't slapping me. She wasn't abusing me that way, but she was ignoring me. And children take that as I'm not enough. Something's wrong with me. Nobody loves me. And when I was born, I actually had a very traumatic situation where I was actually born at home, but they thought I was dead. And so they put me aside into the corner and were having the conversation with my parents that I was dead, and they left me there. So in my life as a young adult, I often got put away and put in the corner, and nobody would talk to me, and I felt very isolated. You see how the correlation there?
Right.
And when I was 2 years old, she's sleeping because as a baby, I look over and my mom is laying in a bed and everybody's abandoned me and I'm by myself. And so I'm playing by toys by myself, and I have to bring myself back to life as an infant. Like, nobody helped me resuscitate myself, okay? So this memory comes up and I just start bawling, and I had to forgive my mom for abandoning me in that moment. And as I went through the healing process, more and more memories started flashing through my head. And by the time I got to 490 times, I had nothing more to forgive my mother for. Now, at that time, I didn't even know I was mad at my mom. But every time in my life before then that I called her, she never had time for me. I was like in a horribly abusive situation. And every time I call my mom, she's like, Natalie, I don't have time to talk. I got to go pee. Like, she always had something above me in the past. But the moment I did my healing work with my mother, I approached her, and you have to do this. So you have to write it out 490 times. Then you have to approach your parent and say, or just say, I was angry about this, this, and this, and this, but I understand that you did the best that you knew how to do. You don't have to be a dick about it, right?
But no, you need to be a dick.
You need to be a dick.
I'm just kidding.
But I just told her how in the past I was angry, and I forgave her. And my mom, for the first time, listened to me and just held me and cried and thanked me for doing this work. And then I had to do it for my dad. And my dad and I didn't really have a relationship. My relationship with my dad consisted of him coming and pick me up and traveling with me, and taking me touring. But my mom and him had separated. And what my dad didn't know is I would spend days and days waiting on a dumpster, sitting out on a dumpster waiting for him. And he wouldn't communicate, and he wouldn't tell me he wasn't coming, and I wouldn't eat, and I wouldn't play, and I put my life on hold. And that's what I was doing in my living life, as I would wait for people to show up for me instead of showing up for myself. I would put all of my happiness on hold, waiting for everybody else to come save me for a long time, until I realized that I needed to forgive my father. And so I went through all of my forgiveness work for my dad, and I confronted him. And it was awkward. I thought it was going to be awkward, but my dad just thanked me and just held me and loved me. And from that day on, my mom and my dad became my best friends. And they are always there for me, but what they're also not is in my business. You know how so many parents are in their kids' business? My parents are not in my business, and there's no enmeshment there anymore. But not only is there no enmeshment there, but there's no enmeshment in my husband's family. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law are very kind to me. There's no enmeshment, all across the board. Even my daughter now is dating her soulmate. Already she has a good relationship at the age of 17, like a magical relationship. And I love his parents. See how I cleared the entire board across? Well, I did this for myself, and then I did this for my ex-husband. In 1 month, I went from an abusive relationship to having my entire reality shifted, meeting my now husband, and completely transforming my entire life. It's like the entire world shifted for me.
Yeah, no, I believe it. For me, I think that your world is really what, I don't know how else to say it other than like your world is a reflection of you.
Yes.
And
how you.
Yeah, I was this is somewhat off topic, but I think it's on topic. There's a Facebook string that I commented on, And basically this person had posted that their goal is to help men accept themselves and not tie their value to how much money they earn. This was what the post was about. And then there's a significant amount of men who are going on and saying that that's not true and that nobody believes that and no woman's ever going to accept them without money. And I just posted on there once. I thought about keep going, but some people I don't think are ready to be confronted with themselves. And
Yes.
it too directly anyways. It hurts them and it can like really damage somebody if they're not ready for that confrontation and then they go there. But it's important for people to know, like, the only reason that the people in your life are responding to you in a certain way is because you expect them to. The energy you're putting out is inviting them to respond to you a certain way. And they're going to respond that way until you choose to shift your energy and say, no, I'm respecting myself this much, and this is what I expect in return from an energetic standpoint. And then other people just start responding to you differently.
Yeah, they do. Because you teach people how to respect you, but you got to respect yourself first. Yeah. This world is a reflection of how you treat you. It's also a reflection of how you treat others. If you have any kind of judgment of another person because you haven't forgiven them, you will actually end up going through the same exact situation that person put you through so that you can feel what it feels like to be them. So you can have empathy and compassion.
Say that again.
Okay, so can I tell you how deep this forgiveness work goes?
Yes, we need to know how to heal ourselves.
Okay, so in the past, when I was married in that polygamous situation, I didn't understand why my sister wife did not love me and why she couldn't accept me, okay? And I also had 5 moms, and I couldn't understand why they couldn't get along and they couldn't just love each other. And so I thought that they were being childish, okay? So fast forward my life, I ended up in a situation where I got cheated on with 5 women. And because I am the person that I am, I bring these women into my home and I become their friends and I love them. But then I kind of got pissed about it. I'm like, why do I always have to be the bigger person? Why do I always have to be nice to people and love them, even though I'm the one that got cheated? Well, it was because I was cheating myself at that time of my life. I was playing small. I was lying to myself. I was scared of my power. I was scared of my abilities, right? But at the same time, and I was scared, I cheated myself because I actually didn't go get the surgery that you and I talked about previously because I didn't think I was worth the $5,000 that it cost. Okay. So when we don't invest ourselves, we actually cheat on ourselves. And so when this happened, I got to sit with reflection because as one of these women come into my home and she's very compassionate, she's very loving with me. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, I want to like her, but I really don't want to like her right now. Like I just want to throw a tantrum, but I'm really pushing myself to be kind to her because she's very sweet. And then all of a sudden it made me realize that I had a judgment against my sister wife because she couldn't love and accept me because she was 32 years old when I got married and I was 18, right? And here this 18-year-old comes marching to this polygamous home and she's like got this perfect body. Of course she's going to be pissed. She had 6, 7 kids already with this man, right? And I just come march in. No wonder she didn't like me. But because I judged her at that time in my life, I actually will manifest that and become her so I can fully forgive her. Does that see how that works out?
Yeah, so you need to have the empathy. And I would agree. I've never heard it explained that way, but I think that's exactly how I would describe the idea of forgiveness. And for me, to the point of that forgiveness is not really a thing in my life anymore. I only see gratitude. I don't really see a need for forgiveness because the fact that woman played that role in your life of initially maybe not liking you and then you causing this judgment, that was a gift for you. And then the completion of that gift was you gaining the compassion and understanding of her position. Mm-hmm. Because now any judgment that you would have towards her, you would actually be judging yourself.
Absolutely.
And by virtue of that, if you want to release judgment of yourself, you have to be, if you want to release judgment of yourself, you have to be willing to release judgment of others. And if you want to release judgment of others, you have to be willing to release judgment of yourself. And that's a beautiful position because then you can be grateful for all those people in your life who you previously have had not great relationships with, when that shift happens and you shift into complete gratitude for everything that happens in your life and that it's happening for you, then there's only gratitude for every bad thing that could possibly happen. It's like, man, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to grow. I don't know how I'm going to get through this yet. I don't know what the end looks like, but I'm so grateful for this experience because
Absolutely. In fact, you hit that on the head. So anytime you're going through a life experience, you do not finish that lesson until you have a state of gratitude, until you can look back to that person, realize they are your best friend. They were up there, says, hey, I will come be a dick to you, so you can learn forgiveness, so you can learn to look at your own demons and fall in love with yourself and stop judging yourself. And they are your best friend. And when you can step and tell them thank you. And this is a lot of what I teach too now, is I teach people how not to take life personal. You ask for every single thing in your life. You've asked for all the trauma, all the pain, everything, because you are a magician. You said, chain me up, lock me up, set me on fire, throw me in the ocean. I will show you how to break free. But most humans are drowning and they are scared and they're afraid of dying. But the truth is if they just settle down, look at what's happening and say, how did I create this? And go into the pain, that's the way out. That is their home run. And then they can have gratitude, see it and go, wow, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that's I'm curious how you as a coach specifically in this realm, I shouldn't say I've never, I've been conscious of this for a while, I guess, for myself, but teaching it has been more of a struggle for me in a lot of cases, as far as when I see somebody who's going through this trauma, who's, in my opinion, completely self-inflicted themselves, whether conscious or unconscious. I think most of the time it's a subconscious affliction. They're not like consciously creating hell in their life. But I think it happens subconsciously. But then when you try to bring that to light in somebody's life and say, look, let's just consider what role you may have played in this, then they get super, super defensive and like, no, it's not my fault. I didn't ask for this. And you're just like, man, like you could be so much happier if you just accepted that you asked for it. And then what can you do to release it?
So I actually had a really cool situation happen at one of my healing retreats recently. There was a man who got into the healing chair. And I did not know why. I did not know why. At the beginning of this talk, before his healing, I had this feeling to say what I said, but I was talking about mindset. And sometimes people are already too low. Their energy is too low. And if you don't go down and kick them some more, they're just going to take offense. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to resist you. And I'm going to tell you a short story to kind of show this point. I listened to this amazing speaker. His name's Thomas. He talked about the story how he bought this pizza place. And when he walked in, he asked the owners, what can I do to make this place go better? Because they were foreclosing. They turned to him and pointed to an employee. And they says, fire her. And they listed all the reasons. She's late. She doesn't get dressed. She doesn't care, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know why they didn't fire her, right? If they hated her so much. But he's like, okay, thank you. And he listens. But instead of going over and telling her all of the horrible things that she's done, he walked over and said, they just said you're the best employee here, that you could totally run this place by yourself. I'm going to turn you into a manager. And the next day she came on time, dressed, combed, and she became their best employee, and the business flourished. So when people are in trauma, they need to be acknowledged. They need to be shown that people care, that they think that they can do better before you go in and then call them on their shit, right? Which is one of the most beautiful things you can do. Because I tell people all the time, I will be your coach, or I will be your friend, but I will never lie to you. I will be very honest and direct with you. And so if you can go in, so with this guy's healing, he started talking about a story. And when people go into their trauma, into their stories, like you said, you know that they created all of this, right? And then they start saying the word should. Should is a swear word. And he's like, and my mother should have never left my father. And my grandmother should have never left my grandfather. And here his father's a drug addict, but the mother should have never left, right? He hates his mother because she left a drug addict. I mean, like all of these twisted, like stories. But we were doing a trauma healing on him. And it was really funny because the other facilitator with me, she's like, you're right. She should have never left. And she just allowed him to accept that. And he's like, yes. And he gets a smile on his face that somebody agreed with him. And then we did it to the next thing. And then she says, how does that feel? And how does that feel? And he felt good. And once somebody was able to listen to his story without, justifying his behavior, making him feel good, he accepted it and he felt validated. And then instantly we came in and showered with him with love. And he literally bawled for the first time in years. Like it breaks that wall down. And then that gave me the ability to go in and say, hey, how are you doing this to yourself? How are you shitting yourself? How are you holding yourself in this cage because, you're punishing yourself or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like the healing that I did at that girl at Travis's during her talk, how she was talking about the business. Everybody was not trusting her. They weren't supporting her. Like the upper management, remember that?
Uh-huh.
My soul wanted to jump out of my skin, and I instantly went over and tapped her on the head. So you didn't see it, but another person saw when I tapped on her head. I actually gave her a golden ball of light, which is a new thought form. And one of the audience members saw it and actually came and talked to me about it. But I was inserting a new belief. And that was a self-love belief, because really she was the one who was not supporting herself, talking down to herself, putting herself down. This world is a reflection of how you treat you.
Yeah.
But sometimes people have to feel heard, seen, and valued before they're willing to allow somebody to show them that reality.
Yeah, that's good counsel. I need to become a better listener, I think. And I hope, I don't know. I do need to be a better listener. That's something I'm working on. I've gotten a lot better over the last few years, but it's still like something and I think something that helped me within the last year or so was when I finally was confronted when people were not listening to me. Then I realized that maybe it's not good to be just direct. Maybe you need to allow for the feeling of just being heard, so that you can actually learn to communicate rather than just like talking. Communication, if there's no understanding, give and take, then there's no actual communication. There's just talking. It's like somebody in Japanese talking to me. Nothing's being communicated. It's like zero. Unless they're really flapping their arms, or like body language could still communicate, but no verbal language. Yeah, no, that's definitely something that's huge. So I would say if that's the only takeaway that you come away from this episode with, is that the world is a reflection of how you treat you, then that's worth its weight in gold if you actually choose to apply that. Every time you make a judgment call or an assumption about something in your world, just ask yourself, how am I making that same judgment or assumption about me and in my life? And if that's the only thing you get out of this episode will be transformational to you, and your life will become significantly better. We're going to get into a lot more than just that, so don't shut off the episode, but that definitely is worth its weight. And I don't know how to, my mission right now is in a relationship with money to help people apply this principle specifically to their finance. That's what I do. And that's where I spend my time most of the time. And so for Natalie, she's going to share with us where we get our financial blueprint and how that also ties into the same topic.
So your financial blueprint is created, again, from birth based on your belief systems that your parents had. So a lot of your own belief systems are not even yours. If your parents were in lack or they didn't buy you things, for instance, the very first memory I have of feeling like a burden, I went to the store with my grandma. Somebody was complaining about money. And instead of buying what I wanted, which was a $25 Barbie, I went and picked up a bubble, some bubbles that were $1. Already at the age of 5 or 6, I realized that if I needed something and I cost too much money, I was a burden, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of us, as we grow older, will buy the sales rack item instead of what we actually want. But if you think in the world of abundance, this is how abundant people think. They say, well, if I buy that shirt, but I don't want it, I'm not going to ever wear it. And I'm eventually going to go back and buy the shirt I want. So I actually paid double for that shirt, or an extra 10 or 15 bucks for that shirt. So abundant people actually just buy what they want. They don't worry about the sales. They don't worry about this other stuff, which a lot of us do because we don't think we're enough. Another thing that people need to realize is most people only think of what they need versus what they want. So because I was raised in a basement with my mother, and it wasn't glittery and it wasn't any of these things, and I didn't want to make my mom feel bad for not being able to buy me birthday presents and things like that, I just stopped wanting things. And I learned to help other people to get my joy, right? I became codependent, bending over backwards for everybody else so that I could feel loved versus loving myself. I became selfless versus self-loving. And when you listen to selfless versus self-loving, if you've ever attracted a narcissist in your life, it is because you are selfless instead of self-loving. The narcissist comes into your life, especially in your marriages and things like that, to reflect to you that you are not paying yourself, that you are not loving yourself. You are being narcissistic to yourself. And that is why you will attract a narcissist. Okay? But that is where those belief systems start as a child. And so as I grew, I never wanted anything. I was a bum taking the $2. And I did this video. I have a video about this. But there's a story of a man that had all this money on him, and anybody could come up and take it, right? And this woman comes up and she has heels on, she has nails, she's obviously rich, and she takes $40 for her nails. And he's like, do you need this? And so she's like, yes, I'm getting my nails done. And he's like, okay, whatever, puts more money on. And a bum comes up and takes $2. And he's like, dude, do you want more money? No, I just need to eat today. Now the world crucified her, but what I saw was the universe wasn't judging the woman, we were. She wanted to get her nails done. She thought she was worth it. She took the $40. Most good, loving, empathic people only take what they need. They worry so much about everybody else and not enough about themselves. So they only take the $2. And then we scrounge and scrounge and scrounge for money. And we don't know how to receive. We have no ability to receive. Like, I didn't realize how much I was blocking people from helping me. Because I was always about helping everybody else. Because that brought me so much joy.
Yeah. Well, and we're again, this goes back to culture. I haven't lived everywhere, but definitely culturally in certain areas from like a religious culture standpoint, we get indoctrinated with this idea that you need to be of service. How can you serve others? And just always about other people. And we don't get taught about ourselves. We don't get taught about loving ourselves in any way, sexually, emotionally, mentally, with our learning how to have our, do our own passions and make time for ourselves. We just are like, oh, well, let's just sacrifice everything we are and everything we can be to everyone else. And I don't think that that is what should be happening. I think that it's super, super important to protect your time and to make sure that you are taking care of yourself so that you're able to take care of others. I think it goes back down to like the airplane. The airplane analogy is just so good. It's like, if
got to put the oxygen on you first.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't just like go around trying to save everybody else, or you're going to die. And it's so important to have some you time and to make sure you're maintaining your health in all those areas so that you're able to serve. And you're doing those, you're maintaining those things, not with the mentality of a selfish, like, I'm just doing this for me and screw everybody else. You're taking care of yourself with the mindset and the intention and the love and the energy to be able to go serve other people. But you know that it's important to take care of yourself first. And so there's some distinctions there in mindset, but actions, unfortunately, are what get judged. Actions are the ones that get condemned most often, not the mindsets of people. And so that's what's unfortunate about the society that we live in today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People, this next tip I give them will actually create financial abundance in their life. This is the one where because I was creating this business of Soulisious, this whole year is about learning how to receive and create this business. And for the first 6 months, I was doing everything possible. I was up at 4 a.m. doing Facebook Lives every day, just pouring my soul out to everyone. Just like, maybe that's when you first started seeing my videos. Like I was just nursing the whole world with all of this free information. And yet I was barely able to cover any of my bills. And I was like, and I had just gotten laid off, and I just like everything was like falling apart, and I just was getting so discouraged. And I end up going to this through this medicine journey, and this crazy thing happened where the universe or the goddess came into my body, and she says, "Can I use you as a vessel of healing?" And I was like, of course. But then she showed me how much I was in resistance to actually feeling other people's pain, because I'm an empath and I already feel so much pain. But she says, you're really scared of feeling people's pain to the furthest extent. And she explained it to me this way. It's like a bum. Okay. We see a bum, and a lot of times people will walk around, where if we see a man or a child that has clothes on that looks nice and they need some help, we'll help them. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just we assume that somebody came from privilege, so they're out of place being lost. I don't know. I mean, it's also maybe how we relate to ourselves.
It's because we love to help. Humans love to help. But when they go and feel somebody's pain that seems too much, they're scared of it. We don't like to feel helpless. We like to help, but we don't want to feel helpless. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so she told me, she says, if I open this vessel up for you, I will teach you how to actually help people so you don't feel helpless. And it was like being Gethsemane. It was the most excruciating pain I've ever been in. And I could feel everybody and everybody's pain across the world. And I just bawled and bawled and bawled for like 45 minutes. Like it was so intense. And as I came out of that, I could feel everything. But what she told me is, now I have to freeze you. And she literally set me on ice. And she says, you have been nursing and nursing and giving and giving and giving and giving. She says, you need to learn how to give to yourself. She says, people give what they need. She says, Natalie, you need to start giving yourself what you've been trying to give everyone else. And it was that one switch. So when anybody tells me what they do, I actually want to dive into it, because I want to see where they need support in that area. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Because it's actually what they desire, but what they really should be giving themselves, and instead of trying to give it to everybody else. And so that switch changed my entire life. So I couldn't even get on Facebook for 3 months after that day. Here I've been doing 5 a.m. lives for months. And suddenly I was not allowed back on Facebook. I was not allowed to take clients. I was not allowed to help anyone. And suddenly I am being transformed. I mean, like within a week of that experience, I am in Costa Rica, and I am meeting multimillionaires, and I am like shifting in my entire reality of what is possible. And they invite me to live there. And then I'm over here, and then I get the sexual healing done on me over there. That was out of this world, where I'm on this table, and they do this very sacred healing that needs to happen for pretty much everybody on this planet. And we can go into that on a later date, because we've been severed from that connection within ourselves. But after that experience, she says, your angels have a message for you. And while I was in that experience, I awoke in this dragon inside me. It was pretty intense, because for years people told me that I was a dragon, which dragons are the original beings of Earth. They're the protectors and the healers. They're like Merlin's dragon. We carry all the magic.
Right.
And I had woken that dragon up inside of me, and I realized why I couldn't receive. Because if I received, it meant I had to take life. I had to go kill something. And that was so devastating to me that I actually allowed myself to starve and not eat. And that's why I couldn't receive, because to receive would mean I had to take money from someone else. And because I could feel people's pain already so much, I knew exactly what they were going through, and I never wanted to take from them. So I couldn't receive. But for me to be able to survive and to be the magic and the protector I was meant to be in this world, I have to eat, right? And so I went through that experience, and I'm laying on the table, and I literally birthed this dragon out of me, and I roar. Like the way I roared was not even human, but they put these like Egyptian rods in my hand, and they whisper to me, and they say, now your angels have a message for you. And they have these glasses that are flashing colors. And I'm sitting there thinking about all the ways I was going to get the money to come move to Costa Rica and do all this stuff. And suddenly these glasses, I kid you not, it was out of this world. They flashed bright red, and my body completely arches off this bed. And this energy comes into me, and the voice says, is loud, so loud. It says, you will not hunt for your food. If they want your help, they will basically kill it, sacrifice it, and lay it before you. It was like, and the way it talked to me was like, it wasn't, you're worthy of abundance. It is, do they know who you are? Does that make sense? And in that moment, I went from not charging to knowing I could be charging over $100,000 for my services and still give them way more value than they were asking for in return. Mm-hmm. That was my darkness. That was my exact opposite. Here I had spent my entire life never receiving, to knowing, oh my gosh, people are stupid for not hiring me. I do not have to hunt for my food. If they want to work with me, they better beg and sacrifice to work with me. And for the next several weeks after that, I was not allowed to help people. If I tried to help someone that didn't pay me, she slapped me. Like, it was like, no, you will not help them without them sacrificing something for you. And I went from, like I said, not charging my worth to having people offer me 10 grand, more. And they would get offended if I didn't charge them enough. Isn't that a weird concept?
It's awesome when it's happening to you, for you.
Yeah. But I had to go through a whole lot of crap before I got to that vibration. And it really comes down to receiving, coming down to how I treated myself, taking everything that I was giving the world and started giving it to myself. I've traveled more in the last 3 to 4 months than I've ever traveled in my life. I have been given over $200,000 worth of free, amazing experiences in the last several months. So since I changed the way that I function, instead of going out and giving and serving, I serve me. And then the right people come to me. And because I'm filled up, I can give them everything. Money is magic. The more money someone gives me, the more miracles I can create for them. If you gave me $100,000, I guarantee you, I would have you be a millionaire by next year. Would it be worth it to you to pay $100,000 to be a millionaire?
For most people, depending on what they're making their millions doing, I would think.
Absolutely. Obviously, yeah. I'm not going to make you a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But the point is I have been given resources and connections now that could absolutely transform anything you want, anything you desire. I have your connection. I know where to go to get you what you need. But I also know how to get you paid for what you are. And that's why I created Soulisious. Soulisious is the soul food eye candy, because most humans are all about being good, or they're all about take. Soulisious is that happy medium. Be so yummy on the outside, but also be sexy, have money, have the cars. Why not create heaven on earth?
Well, yeah, I think heaven is, well, for the right person, right? The person has to accept that heaven is on earth already. And is, as you said, as you demonstrated in your story, it is a state of mind. Like, yes. You have to make that identity shift. Nothing really changed physically. I have to be careful how I say that, but the experience was an experience, and out of that experience, you believe something different about yourself than you previously believed. And those beliefs actually have from a neurological standpoint, and this is what I studied in college, was neuropsychology, but they actually, how you choose to think literally changes the physical and hormonal signals in your brain. You actually are physically changing yourself when you are changing these things. And this is something, when it goes back to our past and we're healing these relationships from our past, so many people, and it's become common. I don't know where this lie gets started. I don't know where the lie started, but the lie that you cannot change your past is, it's just a lie. I don't know how else to say it. Legitimately, your past is what's already been created. The present is creation, and the future is, it's whatever you create. But if you go in and you change how you're thinking about your past, and you change how you're thinking, how you're experiencing those experiences, your brain, like the actual makeup of your brain, the structure, the neurons that are firing, the hormones that are created, the energies that are created, they are changed. Like they do change. And thus you did change the past. You did change what happened in the past. You will
Absolutely.
in your mind or body or energy experience those past experiences again, because they're just not there anymore. Once you change it, you did effectively actually change what happened in the past. And that's a huge thing for people to understand, that you actually can change the past.
Yes, I actually go in and change people's past constantly. I use neurologistic programming that will go in. I can show them how to heal their child wounds, their trauma, all of those crazy things. And it is so vital. What you're talking about is changing your story, the way you believe. For instance, when I started going through this journey, Creator was saying things to me like, I am your sugar daddy. Like, how would you like the universe to be your sugar daddy? Think about that.
It's got lots of stuff.
Right? So as soon as I started saying to myself, the Creator, or God is my sugar daddy, God is my lover, He wants to spoil me. Now I literally am so connected to everything. I can feel everything. And I'm like a walking, talking vagina. I go into the grocery store and I will orgasm energetically like 900 times. Like everything feeds me now. Right? Because I just simply started saying those things to myself, because that's what He kept telling me, right? You change your thoughts, you change your story. I step in saying I'm a god. Suddenly the world starts worshiping me and treating me like a god, because I changed my story, right? And I had this dream that so like hit it on the head. I had this dream where in the dream somebody said, will you take me through this haunted hospital? And I said, no, it's haunted. And they said, I need you to go into this hospital. There's nobody else I trust. And so I go into this hospital, and it's scary and it's dark and it's creepy. And at the end of this hall, there's a light on. And I walk all the way to the end of this hall, and I look in, and there's this little girl, and she has these two little brothers with her, and she's having so much fun, and she's cooking for them, and she's playing, and they're having a bath party. And I'm like, does she not know that she's in a haunted hospital? And she was so resilient. And as I came walking out of the hospital, I'm walking down the road with this female, and I look over, and this little girl and these two little boys are in this water, and it's crystal clear, and they're having so much fun. And I look over to her, and I says, you know, if you and I get in that water, it's going to go dark black, and the seaweed's going to come eat us, right? And she's like, I know, right? And as we keep walking, I go on stage, and there's Oprah Winfrey waiting for me. And I sit up on stage with Oprah Winfrey, and her and I are talking, and I turn around, and this entire photo booth is set on fire. And I'm like, whoa. And at that moment, I realized those are all my past beliefs. Those are my past stories. That is my past. I was a little bit freaked out. And I was like, is that supposed to be on fire? And they said, Natalie, if you're going to be the Oprah Winfrey you're meant to be in this world, those don't belong on stage. And when I woke up from that dream, I realized that little girl was me. Those were my two brothers. When my mom and dad separated, I raised them. I was living in a dark, scary hospital in reality, but guess what? I was resilient, and I had fun, and I played, and I never knew what was happening to me. When I got in that water, it was clear. It's the adult mind. It's your $2,000 or 2,000-year-old reptilian brain as an adult that tells you you were poor and picked on, that creates these stories of trauma that you start putting into your head and start creating a reality you actually don't want. But if you're going to stand up and be a leader in this world and create a legacy for your family, your old stories don't belong on stage with you. People want to feel empowered. They don't want to listen to you bitch and moan all day long.
So true. So everybody just listen to that over and over and over again so you can get the power to deal with your life. No, not deal with your life. Heal your life, because that's what this whole process is about. The whole purpose of me wanting to have Natalie on here is to help people understand that healing is out there. Everything you've experienced up to this point, all of your reality that you think is real, that you think is as bad as it is, whether it's failed relationships or successful relationships, whether it's people in your life who have passed away, whether it's job loss, whether it's mental, physical handicaps, emotional struggles, whatever it is, the reality that you currently are living in, it is a reality, but it doesn't have to be your reality. And you can choose out of that reality. And if you're open to this podcast that we've been having in this conversation, then you're going to be able to accept the idea. It does start as an idea. It starts as a concept and as a thought that you are in control, that you have the power to change yourself and the future. I don't know who is religious. I am a religious person. And from a religious standpoint, I believe that I am here to create and learn to create. Like, that's the purpose of what I'm doing here, is to learn to create. And if I'm not creating on an active basis every day, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't think that you're ever not creating. I think that you're always creating. It's just, are you conscious that you're creating? Are you a conscious creator, or are you a subconscious creator? If you're a subconscious creator and you don't like what you have, then maybe it's time to start associating with some conscious creators so that you can learn how to create the existence you want. Because I think that we're all creating. That's our nature. It's what we are here to do and what we're here to learn. The question is, are you creating the existence you want, or are you letting others, because of these opinions and these thoughts and these energies that have been passed down to us from birth, are you allowing those to be your blueprint for creation? Or are you creating your own blueprint, your own house plans, your own things, and creating what you want rather than what 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 generations of your family wanted? And it's a lot to take in, but I promise if you open your heart and you accept the concepts, the ideas, and the tools that we've talked about today, then your life is going to change. There's no way that it can't change, in my perspective. And it may change for the worse initially when you're practicing and you don't really know what you're doing with these laws. You may end up like thinking you want something, and unfortunately you get whatever you put your mind on. But sometimes once you get it, you realize that that's not actually what you wanted. And that's happened to me. But when you stick to it and you stick to really learning how to create what you want, then you will receive that into your life. So.
And it's so vital that most people, they have to synapses their brain even to believe that's possible. So once you find out what you want, I want you to think bigger. Think bigger. If you can go 2 steps bigger than that, then you're going to stretch yourself a little bit higher. Okay? Because like I said, most people are still taking the $2. Their subconscious knows what they need, and that's all they're going to manifest. So make your need a want. Make your want a need. Does that make sense? And
Yep.
Then you can manifest higher. When I got to Costa Rica, do you know what level of want I'm at? Would you like to see what's possible for people?
Yeah.
When I got Costa Rica, this experience was trippy. I think I told you a little bit but I was going to Costa Rica. My friend sent me a video. She said, you need to check these people out. They're right in sync with you. And I was like, okay, they're called, their names Ben and Jen Rod. You can actually check out their YouTubes They are an amazing couple. Anyways, my whole soul just sank, and I just knew I was meant to meet them. I didn't know who they were from Adam. I didn't know if they were ever going to talk to me. But I turned to my husband, made him watch the video, said, we're moving here, because I knew what I wanted. Okay. So I go over to Costa Rica. I don't know these people. I go to meet my friend Michael. I said, do you know Synergina, or wherever it's called? And he goes, we delivered their baby. How is that coincidence? I go over to Synergina. I walk in. They're having lunch with the mayor. They immediately invite me to stay. They love us so much. They're like, by the way, we canceled your tickets. You're staying with us. We stay in this location that like it's $6,000 a night to stay there. They let us stay there for free. It's like an $11 million place. It's so gorgeous. These people are master creators. They're multi-millionaires. They do not cook. They do not clean. They have staff for everything. They have their own school. They live their life purpose. 6 years ago, he was a mailman and she was a school teacher. And now they're creating this community of conscious-minded people. Do you know J.P. Spears?
Huh?
He has a cabin on their location.
Oh, wow.
So they're collecting amazing people from all over the world because they thought bigger. They think bigger. So wherever you're at, whatever you want, think bigger. Choose, make a decision. Say, I want this. Set your GPS for that destination. And when you make a decision, it will show up. Last night, I was having a conversation with my nanny. She walks up and she's telling me, because I had a conversation with her and her boyfriend the night before. Major breakthrough, because she's never heard of any of the stuff I teach. She came up and she says, Natalie, I have never in my life, like, she's like, things are shifting so fast since I met you. And she was just going on and on and on and on. And she said something to me. She says, but she says something about her car because it's costing her $500 a month. And I says, you know what? You could turn that back in and get one for $150. And she's like, oh, I never thought of that. Within 2 hours, the person that was charging $500 called her, contacted her, and said, so do you want to buy this vehicle for me? She's like, no, I think I'll go get one for $150. He says, well, look at me, look at the price. And he came back and says, okay, I can give it to you $150.
Nice.
Her making a decision, just synapsing her brain of what she wanted, she manifested it within 2 hours. 2 hours. People that do things in the world, they take action. They make a decision, they take action, they set their GPS, and they let the universe show them the fastest way to get there. But if you don't know what you want and you're not willing to dream, you'll never go anywhere.
That's so true. It's the definite desire and decision. I love there's so many things. I like words a lot. And the word decide is, well, anything with the word side, the prefix side in it is overlooked, but it literally means to like kill or to kill off. And so when you're deciding something, you make a decision, you're killing off every other option. Like if you say, yes, I've decided to do this, then what you're really saying is, it's no longer like, I feel like in our society, we commit to things and we make decisions, but we kind of just like, they're loose decisions. They're not actually commitments. When you look at the etymology of the word, then I mean, like, decision is you're killing off all options. You're just going full ahead. And for success, financial success, religious success, family success, fitness success, whatever it is, you have to just make a decision. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to look like. And once you kill off all those other options, then the universe like recognizes that you've done so, and stuff just comes to you. You're like, okay, they're ready for it now. They've decided, they're ready for it. And
yes, because you have definite purpose. You have definite purpose. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to Outwitting the Devil, he talks about this. 98% of people have no idea where the fuck they're going. Excuse my French. But they're called drifters. They have no purpose. They're just drifting. They haven't taken accountability for their lives. And if you can set your destination saying, I am going to be here, I'm going to do this, the universe will send you. It wants to bless you. It wants to spoil you. It wants to worship you. God doesn't need you to worship him. He wants to come in and honor all that you are. You already are enough. You are beautiful. You are lovable. You are worthy. But he has no idea what you want. This universe understands one word, and that is love. Where you put your attention, it thinks you're in love with that. If you put your attention in your pain, it will bring you more pain because it thinks you're in love with pain. If you're always focusing on not having enough money, it will keep bringing you disaster, so you'll never have enough money. It knows one word, love. And if you set your destination and say, I love that, I choose that, I decide that, it's like, oh, good, we know where we're going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it will give you the fastest route there. Everything happens for you. Nothing's happening against you. Everything in your life is there to make you greater, badasser, because you are a magician. And you ask for everything because you want to get stronger. How much pleasure can I receive? How much pain can I endure? You ask for all of it. You ask for all of it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's like I've done a lot of these podcasts, and the title's Fueling Your Legacy. My goal is to help you get the fuel in habits, mindsets, behaviors, tools, practices to create a legacy that you want. And that fuel is in a lot of different octanes, you could say. Some is just like little weed eater fuel, and it's does good things for like 2cc motors, but it's not meant for big explosions. And then there's like jet fuel, things like that. This episode is more like a jet fuel episode, where it's if you take the content here, it will literally launch you to your dreams, and with a lot of precision and accuracy, you'll be able to get what you want faster and quicker. We're going to wrap up here. So is there anything you want to say before we ask you the final question, Natalie?
I just want to tell them a little bit about my emotionally healing retreats, and this is why. Healers heal because they need healing. People train because they need training. So what I've created is a system for you to become soul food and eye candy, but I go in and give you that soul yummy, but I want to co-create with you. I want to help push you into your purpose. And so I give you all the healing tools you need to completely transform your life. But why I also created this is because my goal is to actually get money in the hands of good people. So anybody who puts me on their podcast, I want, if you come to this podcast, you listen, you reach out to me, I actually want to support you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So he makes $1,000 for every referral he gets. So by supporting me, you support him and you support other people so they can actually live their dream and their purpose. And I keep the price low. I only charge $3,500. People have gone to my events and they're saying, Natalie, you don't charge enough because these are life-changing events. And I take you in for 5 days and we house you and we feed you and we take care of you and we would transform your life. And you go through some of the most amazing experiences you'll ever be through. But we keep the price low enough because our goal is actually to synapses your brain. We can actually show you how to get the credit cards for that and teach you. And then you refer 3 people, you get it paid off within a month. You just send them to the next retreat. And if you want to actually make a full-time income just referring people these retreats and co-creating with us and sharing your joy and your passion and your gifts with the tribe, we can grow this. We're going to co-create. We're stronger together. And that is something I did want to put out here because I do want to support you in your podcast and your mission in financially supporting people. So
yeah, absolutely. And it's so important to learn to collaborate and offer. That this is the biggest thing that I've learned so far. Well, one of the biggest things I've learned in doing a podcast and just working with people is collaboration is king. Basically, if you're willing to give, then that's how you receive. You have to know what you want. You have to know what you're worth. And then you can actually add enough value that other people will naturally give that value back in the form of whatever you ask for, whether it's it doesn't matter. However you receive value, you're going to get the value back as you add that value to others. And I'm just super appreciative of Natalie for this offer, but definitely you guys if you guys at all are connecting with the things that Natalie's sharing, please take her up on that offer. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the different types of places. Do you have your website up yet?
So I just barely invited somebody to my retreat last week, or no, 3 weeks ago, and he loved what I did so much. He offered me a $45,000 system free that will be basically it has everything, where it have my accounting, everything within my site, my mass mailing, everything. So we're actually transferring over to that. But when it's up, which will be in the future, Soulisious.com. Soulisious is SOULISICOUS. So,
Awesome.
and we just need to make sure we write that down for them in the future, because people in the future can find that. It's just going to take a minute for me to transfer everything over. But yes, so I do have a website. Have them find me on Facebook. I'm happy to do a 30-minute breakthrough session with them. I'm happy to do whatever I can to support them and support you. And so, yeah, so everybody who comes to my retreat, they are above and beyond excited to co-create with me because it's so amazing. That's why he offered me that free $45,000 system. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for that website to go up. I will have a link to her website. Also some of the books that she finds helpful and have helped her in her journey. So the last question here, Natalie, is now we're going to assume that you've passed on your You're now dead in this current form, and you are, we're 6 or 7 generations, your great-great-great-grandchildren are talking to their friends about Natalie Bushnell. What do you want them to be saying about you?
Okay, so I don't know that far ahead because I see the future. And so I can tell you what I see myself as an old couple. Are you okay with hearing that one?
Yeah, whatever you feel your legacy is and what legacy you're passing on.
So I went through this amazing meditation the other day where Creator was showing me what I will be doing in this world. And it was really beautiful because he took me through this amazing garden. And I saw thousands of like gorgeous red roses spread across the entire world, millions of roses. And then he went into orange, which was this like beautiful orange flowers, but it was so real. It was like I was there, but it went through the entire color of the rainbow. And somebody told me that's actually a very sacred garden. They talk about it in the Indie culture. It's like Krishna's garden.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, and I was taken there and I went through the sacred marriage. But after that point, I didn't exist. I became everything. I became water. I became ants. I became everything, which was really beautiful which means I don't have to, like, what I spread, the legacy I spread will mean I don't need to be the only one who does it. Does that make sense? And suddenly I was with the Inca people and I was watching them be liberated and their lands restored. And then I saw all of these tribes like bowing down, excited and happy and in celebration because everything was restored back to them. They were given their lands, they were given their cultures, we were liberating people left and right, and this whole world was in celebration. And at the very end of this vision, it was so real. I see these 2 old people walking through this field, and they're walking through this field and they're holding their great-great-grandson's hand and they're just skipping. And in that moment, I realized that was me and my husband. And we were just walking in complete peace, knowing that we did everything in this world to make this world a better place. And that was enough. And we were just happy and at peace.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. So having that perfection and peace is, I think, what a lot of people want, and we all are going to achieve that a different way. But I think that's going to be the ultimate state of all of us, is finding peace and being at one with ourselves, with God, with the universe, with those around us, and learning to be at one. So that's incredible. Again, please go and follow her, follow Natalie on Instagram, Facebook, and then when her website comes out, Soulisious.com, it will be the URL there. I'm going to put it in the show notes here, even though it's not necessarily up and running. I'm going to put it up in the show notes here anyways. And then again, if any of you guys want to take advantage of her retreats, you can get in contact with her and get access to those through Facebook or Instagram, speaking directly to Natalie. Natalie's awesome, and she responds quickly. She's not like somebody who doesn't respond and is inaccessible. She's super accessible. She wants to help. That's very, very kind of her to be willing to share her time for a half an hour for anybody who wants to go through and learn more about some of the breakthroughs that they could achieve in their own life right now. What you can accomplish in a half an hour with Natalie is, it's a lot. I've been to a lot of different coaches. I've been to different therapists. I've been to a lot of different things healing my life. And I can just tell you, the people that I've been in contact with over the last year or so, they are on another level and they're able to accomplish a lot more in a shorter period of time. And I can't recommend Natalie enough to help you really understand yourself, the universe, and how you guys relate together, and how you can increase your existence and your frequencies and your vibrations to live a more happier life and to create a meaningful legacy. So definitely do that. And then if you do take a screenshot of this while you're listening to this episode, post on social media, tag both Natalie and I, and we will give you a shout out on our next podcast on Fueling Your Legacy. So that is all for today. Thank you so much, Natalie. Super appreciate your time.
And just remember, if you listen to this podcast, make sure you reference him so that we can, I know exactly where you're coming from, so I can make sure he gets paid for you. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Make sure that I get paid. That's big for me.
People don't know how much time and effort it takes to do these. And so I really want to honor you and what you offer the world. And it takes a lot of courage to get your own podcast going and share yourself with people over and over and over again. So I want you to be rewarded, and if they love listening to you, I want them to support you. And by supporting him, I promise you, I will make your world a whole new reality. So please do reach out to me, and let's start transforming this world together.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Natalie.
And thank you.
We'll catch you guys next time on Fueling Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.